The format of this meeting is a 10-minute speaker, our secretary's announcements, a coffee and snack break, and our main speaker. Our first speaker for tonight is Dan.
Hey, I'm Dan. I'm an alcoholic. And I'm standing between you and the secretary's announcements, so I'll be quick. My sobriety date is October 19th, 2015. I have a sponsor. He knows he's my sponsor. I saw him yesterday. And my home group is Douglas Park, Venice Beach Group, the whole book meeting on Sunday nights at 5:30. It's on Zoom this week. If you want to join, let me know. And I'm blessed to have 3 sponsees actively working the steps right now, which means I'm actively working the steps right now too. So what it was like, what happened, and what it's like now. I grew up not knowing I was restless, irritable, and discontent, but I was restless, irritable, and discontent. I just didn't know it. And I came out of childhood feeling mostly like I just didn't matter, and that didn't sit well with me. And I was going to matter no matter what trouble I got into. I was going to make me matter to you if it was important enough for you to know me. And behind that was, I think I came out of my childhood not feeling loved enough. And I don't know where I got that from. I don't really blame anybody for it, but that's just kind of how I came out. My dad was an alcoholic, and I saw what it did to our family. I didn't take a drink till I was 18 years old. And when I did, I realized I had been restless, irritable, and discontent for 18 years. And I always saw everyone's exterior when they were drinking. You know, I never felt what was going on inside their head when they were drinking. And when I felt that, my drunk log was unique only in that it was 35 years long. I drank from 18 to 52 or 3 or something like that. And in that time, it was just a long, slow plane crash. Like one engine was lost, and we weren't falling out of the sky like this. It was just kind of a long, slow descent. And what was really happening was who I wanted to be and my moral tethers were getting stretched that whole time, just further and further and further away. I was getting further and further away from what was important to me. Until the very last 2 or 3 years, everything that I judged you most harshly on, and I was and still can be a very harsh judge, everything that I judged you most harshly on, I was now doing myself. And I don't know when it happened that I stopped looking in mirrors, but I stopped looking in mirrors. If I was getting ready for work and somehow in shaving or something, I accidentally made eye contact with that guy, I quickly averted my eyes. I did not go near those eyes. I didn't want to see that guy. And I was really incapable of being around emotions, mine, yours, bad or good. I wasn't really crazy about those either. I just didn't want to be around them at all and get away from them as quick as I could. The best way I could get away from them was to numb myself out, and that's how I had been living my life for decades. And September 30th of 2015, my then wife came to me and said she wanted a divorce. And that was all that's what it took for me. At that point, I just decided that if I had to live through the shame of walking through my neighborhood getting divorced, I was going to just go through all the shame that I needed to go through. And I knew I couldn't stop drinking. I tried to stop drinking probably 10 years into that 35-year career and tried over and over. I mean, the insanity of it was that I kept trying over and over again. If you do the math, it's something like 10,000 times I tried to quit. And it honestly was between the times where I said, that's it, I'm never drinking again, and the times that I said, I'm just not going to drink tonight. And I found myself with a drink in my hand that night, and I always found a drink in my hand that night. It was easy 10,000 times. And I kept thinking it was going to be different. 9,998 times, and I was trying it again. And I decided to get sober, and I didn't want anything to do with AA. I looked for a rehab that had seemed to be as far away from the 12 steps as I could get, and I signed up for them, and I gave them $6,000 US, and they gave me a big book, and you could probably get one here for less tonight. And they told me to go to 2 meetings a week, and I was like, ugh, that's just what I didn't want to hear, you know? And my first meeting ever was in El Segundo at Rec Park on a, like a minute left or something? Oh, okay, that was mute. I was scared. I'm a 6'4" white guy, if anybody would just said boo to me when I was getting out of my car, I kid you not, I would have gotten in my car, driven back home, and who knows where I'd be today. Nobody said boo to me. In fact, one woman said, "My name is Sue. How are you?" And it was okay, you know. And again, I'm a judge of people, right? It was like 18 people in that room. I would say 16 of those 18 people were comfortable in their own skin. And I'd seen people comfortable in their own skin before, but never 16 out of 18 in a room. Thank you. And I wanted that. And I also wanted to quit drinking. And so and thank you, Josh, for reading chapter 5. When someone read chapter 5 and said, if you want what we have, yes, I want what you have. I didn't equate those two at all. Drinking and being comfortable in your own skin. Those had no connection whatsoever in my head at that time. But I wanted that, and I just started bending to the will of the program, and it was never an all-at-once thing. Every time when I got a sponsor, I told him all the steps. I read all the steps, and I told him all the ones. The one I didn't want to. I was going to negotiate the steps with him, right? And he just said, well, let's just keep reading this paragraph, Dan. You know, we're only on step 1. We don't have to go any further than this right now. And the way they worked, by the time I got finished with 1, I was ready. I was willing to give 2 a try. I wasn't sure I was going to be okay with 3 at that point, but I was willing to give 2 a try. And nothing changed my life more than that man. I mean, no man in my life has meant more to me than that man, other than my father, and that's because he gave birth to me. And nothing has changed my life more than working those steps. And I got sober, and I've stayed sober so far. And that mild-mannered man made me raise my hand in meetings where they say, raise your hand if you're willing to sponsor somebody. Gentle as he was adamant that I had to raise my hand when that happened. And I did, and guys started coming up to me, and they didn't stay sober. And one time I was sitting next to my grand sponsor in a meeting. I'm like, I don't know why I'm raising my hand. Nobody ever stayed sober. And he says, read page 94. And I go, just tell me what's on page 94? No, read page 94. And I read it, and the next guy that came up to me got sober. And it wasn't anything to do with me. Read page 94. I'm not going to tell you what it is. And I remember, I guess, just a couple of things. I remember that in that rehab, there was a woman that was like 2 weeks ahead of me, and she was in the same kind of field that I was in. She traveled for work just like I did. She had to go to cocktail parties and stuff, and she was going off to a cocktail party. And I was watching, and she came back, and she had drank. And I said, what was it? You know, I was on her, like, what happened? What did you do? What was it? She said, I was ready for the cocktail party. I was ready for the mixer. I was ready for the gala. I wasn't ready for the mini bar in my hotel room. I was like, oh. And I called my hotel in New York City that night, and I said, I want that mini bar emptied before I get there. And they, sir, it's a Holiday Inn. There's no mini bar. My first dose of humility in this program. There have been many, many more. And today my life I'm in the 4th dimension these days. I have so much going on in my life. I am so rich in how I wake up in the morning, what I do every day, the people that I engage with. The more I'm around this program, the better people I am associating with, and the better people I'm associating with, the better I get to be. It's easier for me to head in that direction. And I know the very opposite is true, too. If I start drifting away from this program and getting back to my old friends and getting back to my old life, I'm not heading in the direction that I'm heading in now. One of my favorite meetings is at the Marina Center on Friday nights at 5:30, and I like it because there's a lot of newcomers who come in pretty scuffed up. And there's also a lot of people with like decades of sobriety, and they're active in their sobriety. They're still taking on new sponsees. And to me, that's a roadmap. It's like, there's where I was, there's where I'm going. Those are the people I hang out with. That's where I get my strength from. I lead a very rich life today thanks to Alcoholics Anonymous, and that's it. Thanks.
That was rad. Grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Amen. Now, kids. Now our main speaker will share his or her experience, strength, and hope with us. Please join me in welcoming Julie M. from Santa Monica.
Thank you. Oh, hi. Thank you. Okay, hi everybody. I'm Julie. I'm an alcoholic. Hi, Julie. I know I have a timer, but I'm still going to kind of time myself because I'm an anxious freak. I'll tell you about it. I'll tell you all about it. I got time. So I'm Julie. I'm an alcoholic. Hey everyone. Thank you, Chris, for having me come speak. There he is. And thank you, Dan, for doing the 10 minutes. And thanks everyone for being here. And welcome to the newcomers and happy birthday. So a few years ago, we did a little switcheroo, and I was the 10-minute speaker, and Dan was the 45-minute speaker. So when I was about to do this, I thought Dan has to be my 10-minute speaker tonight. And here we are. So I have time. I was just telling someone I'm so used to trying to rattle it all in 10 minutes. So it's weird for me to know that I can really give you guys the full deal. So first off, my sober date is February 4th, 2016. So I have a little over 7 years. Thank you. Dan has a few more months than me. It feels like much longer because I'll get to the story, but the crux of it is I came in 11 months dry, which I can get into. I do not recommend this. I do not recommend this. But it did bring me down to my bottom for sure, being dry and not knowing what I was suffering with. And Dan saw me. Dan, we have the same home group. I've known him since I've gotten sober. And, I came into the rooms with 11 months of not drinking or using drugs, and I had never, ever been sicker. And I did not know what was going on. So let's start at the beginning. Just kidding. It was a cold November 3rd morning in 1982. That is my birthday. I'm 40. But yeah, a lot of people talk about restless, irritable, and discontent. I have been restless, irritable, and discontent since my earliest memories, really. I can remember being 4 or 5 years old and being anxious and restless and discontent, irritable. Of course, I'm young little girl. I don't know what's going on, but I know that I worried about things that other little kids didn't worry about. I can remember asking my mom existential questions at 5, what are we here for? Why are we here? Is there a God? I can really remember because she would answer me why are you asking me this? She would try to comfort me, but she was more perplexed, right? And I can when I see pictures of myself then, I feel sad. I feel sad for that little girl because even though I could kind of play and seem fun and I could talk to kids and have fun, I can remember being plagued with incessant worry, even as a little girl. And I had support. I had a somewhat functional home. I mean, now that I'm an adult, I can see it's not that functional, but at the time it felt very functional or functional-ish. That's all I knew. But I say all that because even though I heard the word alcoholic all growing up, because everyone in my family was alcoholic. My grandpa was, my grandma was, my uncles were. Some were not drinking, some still were. My grandpa died of alcoholism. I have a brother who's still an active addict. So I heard a lot of this growing up. My mom used to always talk about her alcoholic father who, lost the farm and didn't help raise the 9 kids. They were Irish Catholic. And so I always heard that word, and I always knew that some of my uncles didn't drink, and some of my uncles did, and I thought I knew what it was, and I didn't. And I definitely, I think, suffered from alcoholism from an early age. Of course, it's so easy for me to say that now, right? It's so easy for me now, in sobriety, 7 years later, look back at my life and see that. But at the time when you're in it, at least for me, I couldn't see it. I couldn't see it at all. I just thought, I can remember being really little and figuring out that something was really fundamentally wrong with me. It's easy for me to say that now. I can look back and have insight, but at the time, I just felt really bad. But it really felt like something was really wrong. I I go into this a lot because it really, really affected me. Like I would obsess over things like time when I was little. So I would like obsess about bedtime and like how much time I had to sleep. Like I heard somewhere that you needed 8 hours of sleep. So as like a 7-year-old, I would obsess over like, am I getting 8 hours of sleep? Am I getting 8 hours of sleep? And it sounds so silly now, right? But like it plagued me. Like I would be coming home from school being like, okay, it's 4 o'clock. 5, 6, 7, dinner at 7:30. Like then I got to be in bed and I'd be like obsessing over time. And like, I better get to sleep. I got to get to sleep. What if I can't sleep? And my parents were doing the best they could. They'd be like, it's okay. Like you don't have to get 8 hours of sleep. And I remember like just being so obsessed about it, right? And then kind of figuring out that like not every kid was doing this, because in school I'd talk about it and I'd be like, how do you go to sleep? What are you doing? And I would realize that like I was weird and strange, and my parents, God bless them, but they were kind of being like, something's wrong with you. Like something's wrong. So I think I really internalized that. I mean, something was wrong. Something was wrong. I mean, whatever. It's alcoholism and all types of stuff. Being a human, generalized anxiety. I mean, whatever, right? Whatever you want to call it, OCD, like a bunch of stuff going on. All I know is when I started getting older and older and kids were having sleepovers and doing like normal kid things, I was having a really hard time doing that. I couldn't do it. I would go there and then I would make up an excuse of why I had to leave. I had to leave. I had to go home. I couldn't tell them why. I was sick. And we kept saying I was homesick. I wouldn't say that to my friends because that's too embarrassing. But like my parents knew like the code word. If I would call, I'd be like, I have a rat. I don't know what I would say, but they would know like that's the code. Like they should come pick me up. And I couldn't do the fun things I wanted to do, and it was so embarrassing. I even remember going to Florida with my best friend at 13, and the second day into the trip, I had to call my parents, and they had to fly me home because I was having panic attacks. I mean, at the time, we didn't know enough to call it panic attacks. Like we had no clue what it was doing. I didn't have any words for what I was dealing with, but it was like it was panic attacks. I was like having panic attacks. I would call it homesick. I'm saying all of this because, and then I drank, and it really was like that. And then I drank. I was 14, and I had older brothers and sisters, and they were drinking. And my parents, luckily, didn't really drink, which is funny because we are like riddled with alcoholism in our family. But randomly, my parents didn't drink. My dad, I actually think, is addicted to other things, but that's not what I'm here for. But anyway, and so like there was some alcohol in the house. I remember like stealing Southern Comfort, and like a couple of my friends stole beers and whatever. And Wild Turkey 101 was my first drink, by the way. I went hard right off the bat, and I drank a shit ton. And I remember thinking, oh my God, I don't care about where I sleep, when I sleep, if I go home, if I don't go home. Like it was like I felt relief, and I could do all the things I wanted to do with my friends, and it felt so good. And we got caught that night because we were young and didn't know how to drink, and it was Wild Turkey. So we were obviously wasted, and everyone knew, so we got caught. And nothing really happened. My parents, I was super hungover the next day, already had like the scaries, like the very first time I drank, like the very next day, super anxious and depressed and scared, but also knew like, okay, now I can just drink and I can like do what I want to do, which is like all normal 14, 15-year-old things, like sleep over at our friend's house. And that is honestly like, in a nutshell, from like 14 to 33 is like what I did. It like became my whole identity. I was the party girl. I liked that. I thought it was cool for a very long time. My brother and sister were the same way. I honestly didn't develop a personality. And I know that because once I stopped drinking, I was like, oh, I'm sorry. I'm not trying to swear. I swear a lot. Who am I? I really didn't know like what I liked. I thought I was extremely extroverted. I thought I loved parties and people. Come to find out, I do not. Not particularly anyway. I mean, I guess I like people, but just not in large crowds like this. I was like yawning so much before I got up here, and I knew it wasn't because I was tired. It was because I was nervous. I like could not stop yawning. I'm like, During Dan's share, I couldn't stop yawning. I'm like, I'm not bored. I'm just nervous. Anyway, yeah, so, it became my whole identity. And for a long time, it like worked. I was a teenager and then into college, and I was just, I just drank. And that is honestly who I was. Like, that is honestly who I was, and I was okay with that. And, for a long time, it really worked. Like, I forgot all about, like, that young girl who was so scared, who was homesick, who couldn't sleep over. That was such a huge thing. Now I could sleep anywhere with, and not with anyone, but kind of. But like, it just didn't matter. Like, it didn't matter. And that really, really helped me. I could go away to college, right? I didn't go far. I went like 45 minutes down the street, but still, that was like a big deal for me. I can remember in college, me having like mental health issues, of course, and thinking I'm like anxious and depressed, and like, again, something's wrong with me. Like, even though I was like drinking and like I had solution with alcohol and drugs, I still would like have days where I'd be like, something is still seriously wrong. And I would try to go get help from the doctors on campus, and they would ask me how much I drank. And I was honest. I thought like everyone was drinking like I would. So I'd be like, oh, I don't know, like 20 beers. And they'd be like, in a week? And I'd be like, no, in a day. Like I was genuinely, I was surprised they thought in a week. I was like, 20 beers in a week? I'm like drinking 20 beers plus shots plus like drugs. Like, what are you talking about? And several times people would be like, oh, I think you need help. Like, I think you have a drinking problem. And I, at the time, I just couldn't hear it. It didn't matter what anyone said. I thought it just didn't matter what they said. I just basically learned, okay, well, I guess I lie to doctors. Like, I'm not going to tell the doctor the truth anymore, because every time I do, I think they say I have a problem. And that wasn't what my problem at the time was definitely not drinking. And that was my solution at the time. So no one could tell me any different. And I really lived a life of like manipulation. Again, like, I didn't realize I was doing this, but if I thought about like how I got through school, right, high school and college, I cheated on everything. I bought papers. I found people who didn't care if I cheated off them. I handed in my sister's work from a couple years before me. I really did like get a degree that way. Like, I didn't really go to class, or if I just manipulated classes where like no one cared if you went to class. You just had to do, I don't know. If I look back, it was like full manipulation, and choosing what's the word? Like choosing credits and choosing a full degree based on the fact like it was easy and I could get it without trying hard and still drink and do drugs. And in college, just real quick, because it is a big part of my story, and half the reason why I didn't get sober for so long is because I found heroin and pills in college, and right away, addicted. Like, I tried it once and and for some reason had no fear, by the way. I don't know why I had no fear, but right away tried it, and it was like off to the races every day for months. I would be dope sick if I didn't get it, and I had a boyfriend, so I could. That's not why, but like I basically had boyfriends and friends who could get me what I needed, and that was the first time I could tell that I probably had a problem, because I was doing scary things, being in scary places where, in my mind, I wasn't that person, right? I wasn't that person. I wasn't my brother. I always compared myself to other people, so my brother was, in my mind, much worse than me. So suddenly I was this girl who was doing heroin every day and still going to school and had friends who weren't doing that, right? And I would just find myself in like darker, scarier places. And that was my problem, right? So for, 6 to 8 months, I felt like, okay, I have a problem. This is a problem. And I stopped doing that on my own with alcohol. So eventually, I guess I have time, but long short, whatever you want to call it. It was just a short period it was like, 6 to 8 months of like, of real scariness, I thought. And the way I stopped doing it was by drinking. Like, I got off hard drugs by drinking. And I thought because I got off hard drugs on my own, and I really didn't keep using them. I thought, well, that's it. I did it. I'm not a drug addict. Like, look at that. I just quit, and meanwhile, P.S., I was still doing coke all the time, but I didn't think that was a real drug. I was like, oh, it's just so I can drink more. Like, to me, and I feel awkward sometimes talking about heroin and pills and downers because it was like a romance for me. Like that to me was like, I could cry because of how it made me feel in a good / scary way. It was like the one thing where I was like, oh my God, this is the only thing I've been looking for, right? And that really scared me. That really scared me that I found this thing that I knew was bad, right? Because I feel like alcohol is so common, but like you say the word heroin, people are like, oh, that is looked down upon. I mean, down upon way worse than alcohol, I think. So like I knew that was bad, but I had such a love affair with it. Such a love affair. It took away all of the things that I wanted to take away. And the fact that I was able to stop doing that, at the time I thought by myself on my own, but really I didn't. I just started drinking more. But it really kept me out of the rooms and kept me getting sober because I didn't think I needed to, because that was my problem and I stopped doing it. So that carried on my alcoholism for 15 more years, 15 more years. And then I get out of college, I go back to school, I become a nurse. I'm a nurse, by the way. What the hell? and just sort of heavily drank that whole time. And I moved to Baltimore for a nursing job, and I feel like my drinking is almost boring because it was like I somehow maintained a life while being an alcoholic, and I surrounded myself with other people like that. I mean, all of my friends were like that. They all were nurses and doctors and people who were working. We were all heavily drinking. No one thought it was strange. I slowly started changing my work to fit my drinking because some of the nursing jobs you have, it's really hard to do hungover, and I learned that. And so like I wasn't thinking like I gotta switch my job because I'm an alcoholic. I just thought the job is the problem, not me. I'm gonna switch my jobs. Like I never once thought it was alcohol. Until I got older, right? Until I just started getting older and everyone else stopped kind of doing that. And I did a geographic classic. I moved to California from Baltimore, Maryland, about 11 years ago. And I did that thinking I'm going to move in with my sister who doesn't really drink, and especially not like me anyway. And I was like, I'm going to get healthy. Everyone in California is healthy. I'm going to quit drinking. I'm going to quit smoking. I'm going to do all the things, and it's going to be great. And I did not do that. I tried to do that. And I tried all of the things. Like I went to tons of therapy. I went to a million different churches, by the way. Not that anything's wrong with that, but I just thought like something, because all along I wasn't being like, I need to quit drinking. I was thinking like, I need to fix me. There's something wrong with me. I need to fix it. Something is wrong with me. I need to fix this. And nothing would fix it. And it was always outside things. Like the boyfriend was wrong. The place I was living was wrong. The job I had was wrong. The career I had was wrong. Who I am inside is wrong. I'm just wrong in general. So if I can just fix that, I'll be okay. And I did always know that there was something weird with my drinking, but because I wasn't like my grandfather who lost his farm and like beat his kids and died of alcoholism, I did not look like that. I didn't think that was it. Because I wasn't doing heroin every day, I didn't think I had a problem. Because I wasn't like my brother who was in and out of jail and quote unquote worse than me, I was okay, right? And eventually, I was just telling Dan, like I did a silent retreat before I was sober. I did a silent retreat. That was very interesting to be silent with my thoughts for 5 days. So I did stuff like that. Like I went to things like that because like that will fix me. It did not. It was very hard, by the way. I would want to try it again now that I'm sober, but like I just did things like that. And I remember getting to a place, like right before I stopped drinking, where I had gone to enough therapy and I had done enough meditation and enough church things to be like, maybe if I just stop beating myself up for drinking so much. Maybe if I just stop making myself feel so guilty that I wake up hungover every morning and that I'm not living to my full potential. Maybe if I just stop, beating myself up, then I'll be okay. So I did it. I did that. I stopped caring if I drank 2 bottles of wine every night, if I was throwing up at work every day, if I was like, fuck it, I just like to drink. Who cares? Who cares? Who cares? And that actually got me to my bottom eventually, because eventually my body, it was like, I seriously can't do this. I cannot do this anymore physically. I was a nurse, or I am a nurse, but at the time I was a nurse going into people's homes, and I would throw up. I would come into their home and then ask to go to the bathroom and then throw up. And then try to go take care of them and then go be like, I'll be right back. And then go back into their bathroom and throw up. I threw up in my car a bunch of times. I threw up, while working, like in my car, like on the seat, not like in a bag. Like it was like disgusting. You know what I mean? I would pee the bed all the time. And I broke these front teeth, by the way, from like face planting. Just all the different things that like at the time it's so funny how you can like really rationalize and like joke about how like it was so funny at the time. Like, oh God, it was not funny at the time, but I was laughing. Anyway, and it just got like weirder and weirder because like the older I got, the less I could find people that drank like me. And I think unconsciously I was trying to not find people like that, or maybe a higher power was helping me not find people like that, because I would go out with friends and they would like sip on drinks. And I would be like, I thought we were drinking. Like, what's going on here? And they'd be on like drink 2, and I'd be like, I'm going to go because I want to like drink, and you guys are like sipping on drinks, and I don't want to tell you that because apparently no one's getting it. So I'd be like, okay, yeah, good night, guys. And I'd go home, go to the store, get 2 bottles of wine, go into my room, and drink 2 bottles of wine alone on a Saturday night. And I was like, this is getting weird. And then I would have to hide it from my sister because I didn't want her to know that I drank 2 bottles of wine alone by myself. It was just strange. And I knew it was strange. And only because I want to get to other stuff, because this stuff is like good, but there's, I want to get to what I did because I'm so grateful to be here, by the way. And AA truly has changed my life. So with that, this is not as easy as it went, but just to save some time, and I think it's kind of boring. It's like there's better things to talk about, but I quit drinking. So it wasn't that easy, but eventually I got to a place. I'd been in this school, I'd been doing improv stuff, I was doing all these creative things, and I knew drinking was getting in the way of me doing all those things, plus the hangovers and all the stuff. I eventually got to a place where I was like, okay, you know what? I'm done. I'm not going to drink anymore. Which, P.S., I've done this many, many times, so I don't know why I thought this time was going to be real, but it did. It stuck. It stuck for 11 months. I did not drink or use drugs for 11 months without calling myself an alcoholic. And that is like the darkest time of my life. So I feel like I'm really, even though it's a strain, I would never recommend doing that because it was really scary and I was suicidal, and I didn't know I'm so grateful that I got help, because I either was going to drink again or kill myself. And thankfully I feel like God intervened and I found AA, but in those 11 months, it was just the craziest shit because I thought I had done the thing. I thought I had done the thing I needed to do, which was like stop drinking and using, I did. I did it. I'd stopped drinking and using. And I was so much sicker. I was so sick. All of the things came back, right? All of those little girl things, the obsession over time, or just obsession in general, right? Obsession in general. I was no longer able to be social. I was like hibernating in my room. I didn't know who I was. Who am I if I don't go out and I like to drink? What do I like to do then? I don't know. Everything scared me. I didn't know. And without help, without me like admitting that I had a problem, I needed help, I just like isolated and isolated and isolated. And I was like up here, up here, up here, more and more and more. And I did not know what was going on. And after 11 months of that, which P.S., the first couple weeks of quitting drinking on my own, I woke up every morning craving cheesecake like I'd never craved before. And I wasn't a sweets girl. I was like a chips kind of girl. And I remember like thinking it was so weird that like every morning I was craving it so much that I would want to go to the Vons, which was right down the street, to get cheesecake at like 7 a.m. Because I was like, I need sugar, because my body was probably so used to getting sugar. And then I just stopped it all of a sudden. I would crave like weird things like warm vodka. I remember being like, I wish I could just pull over and chug warm vodka. Like, who? And I didn't think I was an alcoholic. Like, who thinks that shit? Specifically warm, like I wanted it to burn. I remember thinking I want it to burn. Anyway, that was like, but like things like that in the first couple of weeks, it still didn't really cue me in on like something was wrong. Or maybe I think denial is a strong thing. Denial is strong. And like, I thought I knew everything. I thought I knew it. I thought I knew what alcoholism was. So 11 months in, I remember telling my sister, who was the closest to me, who knew I really struggled. Like, she is probably the one person, not the one, there are people who thought I needed to quit drinking, but she really kind of knew. She was the one seeing it a lot. So when I was around 11 months and telling her, I think I'm going to start drinking again because, I did it, and that's not it. That's not the thing I need. Like, something else needs to be done, because I did the thing I thought I needed, and I'm worse than I ever was, so it must not be that. And she was like, well, like, because I think she knew. She was like, well, why don't you, like, try to get help? Why don't you go to AA? And I'm like, no, I don't need AA. I'm not an alcoholic, whatever. And she was like, well, why don't you just try it? You need friends, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, no. But then I went on a hike randomly with this chick that I met at the grocery store, who I knew from the comedy club that I used to perform at. Random. And on this hike, it was much longer than we thought it was going to be. And I ended up starting to, like, of course, like, selfish and self-centered, like, listen to me and all of my problems. I, like, let it rip on what was going on with me. And at the end of it, she goes, girl, you sound like an alcoholic. I was like, what? I was like, what? And she was like, I'm in Al-Anon. I've been in Al-Anon for like 15 years. My mom's an alcoholic. She goes to AA, and she sounds just like you. And I'm like, dude, I'm not an alcoholic. And she was like, well, either way, I mean, you should really just go to a meeting. I love Al-Anon meetings. Al-Anon meetings are amazing. They saved my life, blah, 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 blah. And at the time, I was so desperate. And I don't know what it was. I was just sort of like, okay. And she took me to a meeting. My first one, not that night, but I think the next. And nothing happened. I didn't say anything. I didn't raise my hand. It was kind of big. It wasn't this big, but it was big enough where I was like, oh my God. And nothing happened, right? But I was like, okay. And then I left. But I opened the door to go to my next meeting because I was so desperate. And I went to the next meeting the next day by myself. I can remember what I was wearing. I can remember how it felt, like the air. It was in January because it was almost a year. I was almost a year dry. So it was in January. My hands were in my pockets, and I walked into the small room with like 15 people. And I just raised my hand when I was supposed to. I didn't just raise my hand, but I did take over the meeting kind of, because I was like, of course, like, I don't know what's wrong with me. I haven't been drinking for 11 months, and I definitely don't think I'm an alcoholic, but something is wrong. I feel like I'm gonna die, blah, 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 everything, right? All the things. And of course, everyone did this. They're all kind of laughing. They're like, oh my God, this poor girl. Like, they knew exactly what was wrong with me. I was a dry alcoholic, and you ask for help in an AA room and people will help you. And that is what I did. And I was so desperate, and their reaction was so satisfying for some reason, because they all were like shaking their head. People came up to me, of course, and was like, I know exactly how you feel. Like, this is normal. You're dry. Alcoholism is more than just the drink. I just started learning about alcoholism. That was the first time people were telling me, like, it's going to be okay. We can help you. Just do what we say. And I was kind of thank God, so desperate at the time that I was willing to listen. Because even though I was like, I don't know if I'm an alcoholic, because I have this idea of what an alcoholic is, I'm still like, fuck, screw it. I want help. I need help. Like, can someone please help me? And then I went to my third meeting, and I got my sponsor at that meeting, and she was such a hard ass, and thank God, because she took it really serious, and I was kind of like, I don't know if it's that serious, you know. And she's like, you just told me you felt like you were gonna die. Like that sounds serious to me. You know what I mean? And I was like, yeah, I mean, okay, yeah, you're right. And we started reading the big book every Monday. I went to 4. She told me, like, she didn't make suggestions. She told me I had to. In order for her to be my sponsor, I had to do these things. And that was meet her every Monday to read, call 3 alcoholics a day plus her. Yes, I know. I'll get to that because it was amazing. I had to have 4 meetings with 3 commitments, and those are the main ones. And do the steps, of course, with her. And you know, that stuff sounded nuts. But what happened was when I started doing those things, I started feeling better. Like, I am so wound tight all the time. I would say even now that, like, my brain wants me to be alone and afraid for some reason. Isn't that a TV show? Alone and Scared or something? Anyway. Oh, Naked and Afraid. Anyway. But my brain wants to be, like, alone and afraid. And it tells me that, like, don't reach out. Just be alone. You want to be alone. And what AA forced me to do was not do that. And at first, it sounded horrific, but then it started working. It started making me feel better. And I started feeling connected and feeling relief. Like the relief I got when I drank a bottle of wine. Or did pills or whatever. Like, that same relief that I longed for came to me when I connected with another alcoholic, came to me in meetings, came to me when I called another alcoholic. And even when I said stuff like, I don't know why I'm calling you because my sponsor makes me call you. And, you know, like, they understood. And at least I was connecting to somebody. And so it got easier and easier to do, right? And how much time do I have? Do I have a lot of time left? Okay, not that much. So that was like my early sobriety was just a lot of learning and believing other people when they told me. Like, she used to say, like, I promise you can be happy, joyous, and free. And I believed her. And I would cry being like, okay, I believe you for some reason, so I will do anything you say because that's all I really want. I don't really need to be happy. I just wanted to be free. Like, and especially free of me. When I read the 3rd step prayer with her and memorized it, the first time I read Relieve Me of the Bondage of Self, I instantly cried because it was like, that is what I've been talking about my whole entire life. Like, relieve me from this, you know, relieve me from my incessant thought, from me, relieve me from that. And to think that there's a whole entire program that teaches you how to do that and how to live a life so you don't feel like, oh, all the time and do that without drugs and alcohol. It was like, sign me up. And the more I listened and did what I was told, even though I thought some of the things were crazy, like calling 3 alcoholics a day, and I really did because I was afraid of my sponsor. But and because then eventually started working, the more free I became, and the more I learned about emotional sobriety and what it really means to live a sober life. And I got a second sponsor, and that sponsor this first sponsor taught me so much. I love her. I'll always be indebted to her. And my sponsor, who I have now, who also knows is my sponsor, she also knows I'm her sponsee. I still talk to her and do a 10-step every night and call her. But she, you know, when we did the steps, it was like a whole second layer. That's why I love AA. You have like layers and layers of everything being revealed. Like, the more I practice this program, the more I learn about myself. And I really do learn so much about myself. And I have learned so much about myself. I've learned that I'm more introverted. I learned that I like being alone. But then there's like a fine line, right? There's like a fine line between like alcoholism alone and like alone because I need to be alone to rejuvenate myself, right? So there's like self-care, alcoholism, and it's a fine line that I learned to balance over the past 7 years because I can take it overboard. And how I know when it's overboard is when I'm done doing it. If I feel good and refreshed, that means it was self-care. If I hibernate in my room for 12 hours and watch The Office, and then I feel bad afterwards, it's usually because I'm like isolating and I need to connect with people. And I've only learned that because I am sober, right? And so back to my sponsor now. When we went through the steps with her, I had a profound healing, profound, through a higher power, and I guess through the steps with her, and I don't know how or why it happens, but like that feeling of something is wrong with me, something innately is wrong, I'm just wrong, went away. It could make me weep because it was just so unexpected and so profound that just happened in this woman's living room, all because I don't know why, right? Like I just was honest. We talk about being honest, and I was doing my fifth step with her, and we just started getting to this spot of like me telling her why I felt like I was just wrong. And I don't know why it happened or how it happened, but all I know is like I cried one of those guttural cries that night that like when you're done you feel different, and I've had several of those moments with her for some reason where like I have a profound insight and then I feel different afterwards. And I feel like that's all because I'm sober, and that's all because I'm in AA, and that's all because I'm working these steps, and because I was honest and trusted someone enough to be painfully truthful, right? Painfully real, because I can lie to myself. I can lie to myself so easy. I can believe all of my lies. And sometimes I still do, right? It just takes a while to kind of come to a place of like, oh yeah, I know the truth. And that's why I love still being in the rooms today and practicing these principles in all of my affairs, because I can still, obviously I'm always still learning. Another thing she taught me was, I'm such a big fault finder. Like I can tell that I'm not really with my higher power or kind of fallen out of sync of like what steps 1, 2, and 3, when suddenly the world is like annoying, right? Like you're wrong, they drive stupid, my job sucks. Isn't she annoying? Why are they so loud? She's talking to like just every little thing bothers me. And that is because I am not aligned with something greater or higher. I am like in my alcoholic self because, and what she taught me was like the more, and what the steps taught me too, not just her, doing the steps, it was so clear. It's like, I judge you so hard because I judge myself so hard. I am so critical of you because I am so critical. Like, how can I give you grace if I'm like the biggest piece of shit in the world and I need to beat myself up every day because I'm not perfect and like, how dare I, blah, blah, blah. Like you need to, not you. I needed to become aware of how I spoke to myself because it was not pretty. And because I wasn't giving myself a break ever, I could never give you a break. You don't deserve a break either if I don't get a break. And I don't want to live my life like that. I don't want to live my life like that. And I have learned and practiced not to. And I can tell now because I'm so uncomfortable when I'm back in that space where like everyone is wrong. I know it's because I think I am wrong. And I'm not giving myself enough grace and enough, her and I talk about like radical forgiveness for myself so I can radically forgive you, and radical acceptance of myself so I can radically accept you. And it's just been a profound change in my life. And I don't do it nearly enough. Like even driving over here, like someone will pull out in front of me and I was like, bah! Like immediately like, what the fuck? And I was like, oh my God, watch that dude like be at the meeting. And I was just thinking about how, so it's like, it's a practice, right? I'm definitely not perfect at it at all the time, but these are like profound things that AA has done for me and changed me from the inside out. And I have found that I love coming back to meetings and working with sponsees and having a sponsor and doing stuff like this because I need to. Like, I need to practice these principles in all of my affairs. This is a daily reprieve for me. I love when someone said, like, they go to bed a sober alcoholic and wake up an alcoholic or something like that. They go to bed sober and wake up an alcoholic. That's how I feel. I feel less like that now. In my first few years, I would say, because I'm 7 years now, I'd say like from 1 to 5, I really didn't feel like I could rest on my laurels at all. And not that I should now, but it does feel like I can a little bit. Like I feel like I can kind of carry this out and not feel restless, irritable, and discontent on a daily basis. But before, it was like I needed to be like rigorous, or I was restless, irritable, and discontent kind of always. And I used to get annoyed at people who like could come to meetings and kind of act like it was just their social event. I was like, do we not have alcoholism here? Like, why is everyone so happy? Like, even after 3 years of coming to that same meeting, I'd be like, I need this meeting. We need to be serious. And we need to get our alcoholism down. Like, because I would be so like, and then by the end of the meeting, I'd be like, oh, okay. I feel better. And now I can kind of be like, oh, I feel better. Even before, now I'm kind of that annoying person who goes to meetings and like is happy in the beginning of them too. But, so you too can have that. No, I don't. Now I'm just like going all over the place. 5 minutes. Perfect. So that's what it was like, and it's still like that. I mean, to today, let's see. So like Dan was talking about the fourth dimension. I feel like I'm definitely a person who I feel like I have a life beyond my wildest dreams. Beyond my wildest dreams. The things that are going on in my life that have felt like I haven't even tried for them, haven't really worked for them, are beyond what I could even have imagined for myself. And it feels like I didn't even have to work for it. Not that we shouldn't have to work hard for things, but I feel like when things are supposed to just be for you, they seem to just be for you, because that is what's been happening. And my life is beyond what I could imagine. And I feel like after someone's 5-year birthday, I think, right? Happy birthday. Someone like at 5 years till now, I feel like so much has happened. And people told me at 5 years, no pressure, but at 5 years, your head's going to pop out of your ass and like so much stuff is going to happen. And I was kind of like, okay. And that is what happened. I feel like so much stuff has happened. And now I can really see how life could get in the way of your AA program. Like, that is what's going on with me right now. And it's not really getting in the way. Like, I'm not letting it. But I can see how I'm like, I feel pretty good. I kind of want to do this instead. And whereas before, it was like AA was my life. I went to meetings almost every day, all the time for years. I mean, I'm only 7 years sober. It's not like I have tons of time. But, like, for the first few years, that's all I did. These last 2 years, I really do need to balance this huge life that sobriety has given me with the program that was how I got it, right? And I can see now how that can easily slip away. How you can easily be like, actually, I'm doing pretty good. I'm just gonna, and then like all of your friends are sober, so it kind of feels like a lifestyle anyway. Like I could see how it can get away from you, and I don't want that to happen. And and you know, it's a day at a time. So what am I gonna do, right? But I still can see when I don't work my program as rigorously, things in my life become my higher power. Like, and I can tell that because I'm so uncomfortable. And I'm like, why am I so uncomfortable? Oh, because something that's outside of me has become my higher power that I think is the most important thing. And that's the only thing that's going to make me happy. That is so not true for me. That is so not true for me. I have to be right-sized. I have to have a higher power that I trust. I have to connect with other human beings. I have to, even though everything in me doesn't want to. It's so weird why my body is like, nope, you stay inside. Don't go do. But it's like I have to. I know now I have smart feet. I know now if I don't want a meeting, I need to go to a meeting because I just know it'll make me feel better. And also, you never know who you're going to meet there, who you're going to help there, what you'll say, what they'll say. You just never know. And this program has really given me a life beyond my wildest dreams, which I didn't even really need or want. I still don't. All I want is like peace. All I want is to be free from the bondage of self. And another way I do that, and I'll finish up with this, is through service, is through helping other people. Is through talking to other people. My sponsees are the best. Even if at times I don't think they're the best. Like, or, you know, I mean, because I'm selfish too. Like, I don't want to pick up the phone. It's 9 o'clock at night. I'm tired. Whatever it is. But like every time I do, I'm like, shit, that was so good. Of course, duh. And it's just the only thing in my life that has worked. And you know, I've tried so many things to make me quote unquote better. And this is the only thing that has really, I feel so grateful that I get to call myself an alcoholic and be sober. And you know, my grandpa never got sober. He died an alcoholic. My uncles who, this is crazy, but my uncles who got sober never did AA. And my uncle was sober for 35 years without AA and then drank and died 2 months later. And I just feel like my ancestors are literally like looking down at me, and I just feel like I not like in a cocky way, like I'm breaking chains, but I really do feel like it is a genetic thing that is in my family that I am really grateful that I have found help for. And I think that's it. How much is that it? Yeah, about? Okay, great. Yeah, thanks, guys.
The West Side is killing it tonight.